Hi there, and welcome to Be a Global Citizen. My name's Scott, and I'm a Soka researcher and educator. Enjoy learning about what educators from around the world have to say about global citizenship. These are the highlight reels of my friends and colleagues. I hope their insights and stories inspire you to be a global citizen.
I think it was when I was reading this book on Soka education. It's a book called Soka Education for the Happiness of the Individual. I remember there was a chapter on global citizenship. To me, the first initial thing is like, global citizenship. Do you get a, global passport? Is that something what global citizenship means? Can you travel freely across, the globe? That was my initial idea when I just saw the sort of a title of the chapter. Then, and in the beginning, when I read through the chapter, I could get a little bit of idea. And I think that's the power of SU is, dialogic, sort of very respectful community where people are ready to talk, ready to share their experiences. And I think through these conversations, through these dialogics encounters with people, I kind of understood that, you know, the narrative that, like you talked about, this sort of predominant narrative in the US, what it means to be American or what it means to be good or bad or whatever the case may be. Those are just such I would call it myths, and people are so incredible the way they are. Doesn't matter what race and nationality one is, this their experiences, really. I think that was more so the education that I kind of take back from NCUA is people are good, and every person has their goods and bads. I mean, that's of course we know that, but it's just when we start to dig into this other person's life, there's just this wealth of sort of wisdom and sort of experiences that can really change us as individuals. Yeah, I think to go back to this idea of identity, I think human beings are sociogenic, so we are influenced, we are formed through our, social environment, right? We shouldn't forget that we are not just entirely just mere biological creatures, so, there's definitely a part of how we form our identities through our surroundings, things, people around us. So it's very easy for us to kind of put ourselves in these boundaries that we have, national boundaries, cultural boundaries, or whatever boundaries, because that's how we kind of learn from people around us. But essentially, it's not true. And I think like again, going back to SU, I think how we transformed our identities at SU is because the environment, the culture there is really defining what global citizenship is, to really break out of these boundaries and really connect to people despite irrespective of where they come from and their backgrounds, instead of having these natural divides that society kind of puts to the other. When we say the other, it is like a natural sort of a desire for people to embrace the other and to learn from, like, our own individual change through these. So I think it's the two identity would be like, at least for me, it's the two-way street. One is, of course, our internal change. When we change, society changes. But the same way, when society changes, individuals change too. And I think for these, because we are comprised, the society is comprised of us, so people live in that society. So I think it's important for people to change. And I think that's where education comes in. Really build one person at a time to really help change the state of society. So I think we have to kind of break, you know, out from this dualistic sort of a narrative that the self and the other are two different beings. But we have to, like, what this idea of global citizenship, which comes to find the interconnectedness with all life and living. I think that part is very important. There might be invisible lines to what we see, the connection. Like, we are connected far from, you in Brazil, I'm in Japan right now. We are almost like 12 hours difference. But look at us, we are connected at a much deeper level. And even people maybe just being in the same city or the same room. So it really doesn't matter. It's just as we get more educated in this idea that somehow we are connected with this invisible sort of connections in our lives. I think we come to realize that everything in our life is somehow the nature, people, animals, everything are connected, and that this aspect, especially this in this aspect of global citizenship, one aspect of, I mean, three aspects, the three interrelated aspects of. One is the dependent origination, which basically says that you are coming out of this. We all sort of come from the same sort of and the other part is, this which I really love is which is calls about the self and the inseparability between the self and the environment. And I feel that as long as people start to understand that we are super connected and that we our actions change in other people's life, and other people's action also really touch our lives. So I think once that sort of an idea comes, we come to realize that. I think that's what this idea of wisdom to perceive the interconnectedness of all life and living, that itself is a part of our education, I would say. So again, coming back to this idea of global citizenship, it's a part of realizing our interconnectedness. Second, it's a part of knowing that we can transform the environment through our you know individual change. This idea of trying to change others is something that hasn't worked so far and will not work. It's only through our individual change that comes through this sort of a medium, a dialogic sort of a medium where we try to connect with others, trying to look for these connections between people. It's you know to people who really want to become global citizens, I think it's a start from internal. It's always internal. You don't need to learn language. It's not that you have to travel all over the world to be a global citizen, but really have the wisdom to see the interconnectedness of all life and living, to go beyond our egocentric sort of an idea, become more humane or more sensitive to the pains and sufferings of others, and to use our life for the benefit of oneself and the other. So not only our own sort of egocentric ideas, but also towards working for the benefit of others. Because when you light a torch for someone else, your own way is eliminated, right? So as you work for others, your own life starts to change. That's what I would kind of end it with.